Benjamin C. Johnson. When did you learn that Charlie Manson was a big believer in Scientology? I doubt that the church trumpets this connection. Chick Corea might be terminally unhip, but at least he doesn't have any facial tattoos. It looks like Charlie took the pieces he liked, added some Dale Carnegie, and went out to build a cult. His biggest takeaway from Scientology: find people who are damaged, not broken. Do you think that in the wrong hands, Dianetics and Scientology can be used as manuals for building a personalized destructive cult? The last question you asked is actually the one that's most interesting to me here. I don't know how involved Charles Manson was with Scientology, and I don't know that it really matters a whole lot. He was a crazy person and a murderer, and obviously a destructive cult leader. And whether he picked up principles from L. Ron Hubbard or from other places, I don't know. But what he was doing was definitely not Scientology, so sort of the question doesn't really interest me that much. It's sort of, Charles Manson is insane, and he did insane things. And if he was inspired by or looked into Scientology at all for any tips on how to do those insane things, yeah, he could find some tips in that. But you'd have to be a pretty savvy reader of Hubbard's work to draw from it destructive cult methodology to go start your own cult. So let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. I think I've said before, or worded this in particular ways, that destructive cult leaders, there's only so many ways and methods and means to fool people and get people involved in a mind control type of situation. And by mind control, I don't mean some weird thing. I mean, you lie to people. You tell them half-truths or exaggerations. You build on their hopes, and you build on what it is that they're hoping to get from what it is that you're offering. And then you lead them down a path where they are seeing and hearing and experiencing things so as to give them the idea that you are accomplishing what you say you're accomplishing, even though you're not, right? So can you make people feel good? Can you make people feel like they're experiencing some new, different change in their life that they wouldn't have been able to experience without you? That's what destructive cult leaders do. And whether they're, Hare Krishnas and they do it by chanting and dancing around and creating euphoria that way, or whether they do it through a Scientology method of auditing, where they sit a person down and say, we're going to ask you these questions, and at the end of us asking you these questions, you will feel better. So here are the questions, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and the person is sitting there knowing that as the end result of being asked these questions, they're supposed to feel better. So they will answer the questions and go through the process so as to make themselves feel better. Right? Like there's a lot of self-contribution to the process because the person is indoctrinated into what to do and what to expect. And that's how a lot of, a big reason why Scientology auditing works. It's very, very different from counseling. It's almost a misnomer to call it counseling or psychotherapy, because it's so not that. It's a very one-size-fits-all sort of thing, as far as this is the method, this is what we're going to do, and everybody feels better as a result of what we're doing, so you'll feel better too. And, then the confirmation bias kicks in and the cognitive dissonance kicks in, where you're expecting, A and B and C to happen, and you'll keep doing it until A and B and C happen. And that's kind of how that plays out. So you could, if you were, I suppose, maybe contradicting myself a little bit here, but I suppose if you were in a frame of mind where you knew that Hubbard was playing people and you wanted to play people, then you could look at what he does and how he does it, and you could take some of those methods and ideas for yourself and go use them. You could do that if you were savvy enough to see through all that and do that. And the methods, there's so many things going on in Scientology that are designed to change your mindset, you know, to be a destructive cult member. There's so many of these control mechanisms, in other words, that it wouldn't, you know, that you could take 2, 3, 4 of them and you could go build a whole cult just on those, you know, in the same way that, you know, people build cults on the concept of meditation or on, you know, putting your body a particular way and, you know, primal scream or some screaming, you know, like they'll take one thing and they'll build a whole thing around it, right? Well, Hubbard took 20 things and built this whole thing around it, right? There's so many techniques and things going on with it. So Charles Manson or anyone else could come along and take those techniques and do something like that with it. And I don't think it would even be that hard.